1981 is widely considered the pinnacle of the golden age of the slasher flick. Indeed, as you'll see on this list today, the subgenre absolutely dominated. However, this isn't all the year in horror had to offer. We got non-slasher classics from the like of Lucio Fulci, David Cronenberg, and Sam Raimi, as well as the 2 greatest werewolf movies of all time. With that, as we truck along with our year-by-year breakdown, we present to you the 10 best horror films of 1981. Most fans remember this entry of the Friday the 13th franchise for being the debut of Jason Voorhees, or at least the debut of adult Jason Voorhees. It's also memorable because it's the only film where Jason is the killer and he isn't wearing his iconic hockey mask. Instead, he's wearing a homemade sack mask with one eye hole cut out of it, which is far more scary to be honest. Jason proves he can live up to his mother's murderous legacy by mercilessly killing a new group of teenagers in new inventive ways. This is also, by the way, the last time that any sympathy could be felt for anyone dumb enough to go up to Jason's stomping grounds, Camp Crystal Lake. The rest of the sequels are filled with people who deserve to die for being so naive. A decades-old folktale surrounding a deranged murderer killing those who celebrate Valentine's Day turns out to be true to legend when a group defies the killer's orders and people start turning up dead. One of several slasher productions made in Canada in the early 80s, along with Prom Night, Happy Birthday to Me, and Terror Train, My Bloody Valentine proved easy for slasher buffs to adore. Even if the MPAA, then on a crusade to neuter the new wave of these type of pictures, demanded heavy cuts to be made before it was awarded an R rating. Fun fact, Quentin Tarantino has named My Bloody Valentine his favorite slasher film of all time.
From the heart comes a warning filled with bloody good cheer. Remember what happened as the 14th draws near.
When Halloween became the highest grossing independent film of all time in 1978, it was a given that a sequel wouldn't be far behind. Still, how could another installment even attempt to match the success of its predecessor? A horror masterpiece that basically ushered in the golden age of slasher films that this video is praising. In short, it couldn't. But comparing this film to its OG isn't fair, especially since Halloween 2 holds up as one of the best horror sequels ever made. The plot picks up right where the first film left off. While Sheriff Brackett and Dr. Loomis hunt for Michael Myers, a traumatized Laurie Strode is rushed to the hospital, with our killer not far behind. As a stalk and kill flick, The Burning is debatably better than the films it was trying to capitalize off of, the Friday the 13th movies in particular. The film tells the story of an alcoholic weirdo caretaker at a camp, nicknamed Cropsy, who falls victim to a prank carried out by a bunch of nothing better to do campers who accidentally burn the poor guy alive. After recovering, Cropsy leaves the hospital and heads back to the camp to execute his revenge. For what it is, The Burning is way above average. Sure, it has the obligatory teenagers in summer camp and a deranged stalker out for revenge, but there are some authentic tension-building moments and quite a few sufficient scares. The Burning is a film that dances to its own beat and is a ball from beginning to end. Just one piece of advice. Be sure to find an uncut version of the film if you're able to.
Woody, get ready to grab it.
All right. We're gonna go on. You gotta get ready to go on. All right.
Superb hair-raising horror from the fabulous filmmaking hand of New World ex-cohort Joe Dante, who, along with his crew, managed to imbue this modest production with a frightfully wicked sense of dread, laced with an endearing, self-aware sense of humor. As opposed to eliciting laughter, the humor here is more akin to bringing a smile to a horror fan's face from all the references and cameos from notable genre personalities, although occasionally eclipsed in conversation when, insert the name of the next film on our list, is brought up. It's nigh impossible to discuss one without the other, not to mention both films coming out just a few months apart. Aside from one film being an independent and the other from a major, The Howling was the first film of its type in a good number of years. Arriving a few months after the Howling, John Landis' seminal werewolf film is more expensive and more adventurous, with frequent 180-degree shifts in tone that make Evil Dead 2 look straight-faced by comparison. In the film, a couple of American backpackers wander through the English moors. A werewolf attacks, one of them dies, although he's not that dead. The other gets bitten, and then the movie sets off on a series of tangents. A screamingly funny werewolf soldier dream sequence, a screamingly horrifying transformation sequence constructed by effects legend Rick Baker, a freaky nighttime attack sequence leads into a farcical scene in which the protagonist, having transformed back into a human, finds himself naked at the zoo. There's an extended interlude set inside of an adult theater, we get an elaborate action scene, then it ends. Werewolf movies are all about releasing the monster within. An American Werewolf in London is a magnificently energetic mess that feels directed by pure id. Carnivorous lunar activities definitely don't come any more entertaining than this. David Cronenberg continues a theme established in his earlier films of scientists manipulating the human body and the consequences of such interference, though here he eschews the body horror of disease, infection, and birth that informed his earlier work. Looking at it now, the premise could be for an X-Men picture. In the film, scanners are people with unusual telepathic and telekinetic powers. Consec, a purveyor of weaponry and security systems, searches out scanners used for its own purposes. The film's plot concerns the attempt by a renegade scanner to wage a war against Consec. Another scanner is dispatched by Consec to stop him. In the close to half a century he's been making movies, David Cronenberg has supplied the medium some of its most memorably disgusting images. The most iconic is probably still the money shot of scanners. Even those who haven't seen the movie in years can usually recall its most infamous scene. A young woman inherits an old hotel in Louisiana where, following a series of supernatural accidents, she learns that the building was built over one of the entrances to hell. The Beyond is a mixture of surrealism and straightforward horror, and this mixture naturally makes for a lot of happenings that don't make much sense. For this reason, The Beyond can be difficult for people to get, often feeling like a linear narrative that is thrown together without any sense of how or why. But in reality, the events' lack of logic is exactly what makes them horrifying. Combine this purposefully lack of logic with deceptively adept pacing, and you have a true horror masterpiece. Directed with a slimy mix of David Cronenberg's gut-spilling style and Brian De Palma's fixation, Possession piles on an atmosphere of anxiety and gruesome horror and adds a decidedly European sensibility to the mix. In the film, a woman starts exhibiting increasingly disturbing behavior after asking her husband for a divorce. Suspicions of infidelity soon give way to something much more sinister. This is a movie that highlights the tragic underpinnings of obsession, exposes sexual panic, and stands by its characters, unafraid to show their flaws. The film is not easy to explain. The narrative can get very confusing and sometimes downright nonsensical, yet it also remains compelling and intriguing. Beginning with what seems like a commonplace breakup of a marriage, the film sets out to answer a simple question: why has the woman left? Well, let's just say that things get nuts. We all know the story. The Evil Dead focuses on 5 college students vacationing in an isolated cabin in a remote, wooded area. After they find an audio tape that releases a legion of demons and spirits, members of the group suffer from demonic possession, leading to increasingly gory mayhem. Even after all these years, director Sam Raimi's no-budget debut effort isn't simply a roller coaster ride of a movie. It's that flying off the rails coaster from the beginning of Final Destination 3. Out of control from beginning to end, Raimi's production is a just-in cut of the jugular. The film has a razor-sharp tongue that plunges through its own cheek in bloody fashion, creating a magical blend of horror and humor that is acted as an everlasting cult experience that continues to inspire horror directors to this day. It's a testament to how bliss and the spark of inspiration can elevate a film of any budget, in any genre, from routine to sublime. Once again, thanks for watching, and don't forget to let us know your favorite film in the comment section below.